Oi, oi, all right, how's it going? I'm Grant, your you. This is Doodle Review. Monday to Friday, it's album, and 3 out of 5 of them are going to be on that kind of alternative rock flex. If that's your vibe, subscribe, mate. If we haven't already, it will literally be a matter of days until we cover a band that you love, and in the meantime, you might baste your ear canals in something new you don't yet know that you're going to love. Today, we're going to talk about The Last Dinner Party. This all-female indie rock art group, The Last Dinner Party, have exploded seemingly out of nowhere. I think they're even on track, if not have already done. You know, they've gotten #1 album with Prelude to Ecstasy in the UK, and considering that they formed in 2020, didn't play live until 2021, and didn't release any music until just last year with a few singles, that is impressive and really cool. I don't know if it's the same for any other music fan, but when a band explodes in the way Last Dinner Party has, gaining immediate accolades, inspiring column inches, and seemingly exponentially gaining fans, I don't know why, but why does it kind of initially cause some frustration? I'll speak for myself, and it'll make me sound like a dick. But I'm hoping by being open about it, we can potentially together, maybe, if what I'm about to describe sounds like you as well, we can understand why this happens. Because as a pretty hardcore music fan, why is there this like initial bit of reluctance to embrace a band that's getting hyped in the press the way Last Dinner Party are? When I first started hearing the group's music, it's like my mouth immediately started turning into a sneer and just wanted to shout about how, well, it's actually not actually anything new, you know, it sounds like this and this and that. It's like, what is that about? It's like this weird instinctual thing, and I'm really keen to understand where it comes from. So in this video, in addition to being, you know, a review of this album, which is actually great, by the way, we're also going to explore this phenomenon because it's kind of fucked. And to me, it comes down to about 3 or 4 different things. If you've ever tried to do the whole band thing, there is an element of, like, let's face it, jealousy. It will be familiar to anyone that's ever loaded a van, spent a good portion of your wages on petrol, travelled to a community centre in some town you wouldn't even normally visit if you were dying for a piss and miles away from the nearest service station, and then play to like 2 or 3 people. You know, there's definitely one way to get jaded and a bit resentful of artists that enjoy seemingly a quick success, but you know, the reality check is just like, you probably just weren't that good. Okay, it might not always be that, but when it really boils down to it, is this: someone else's success is not an admonishment of your attempts to achieve the same goal. It's really just a recognition that they are really good. I actually don't think that's just a musician's outlook either. I think it's actually a bit of an inherently British thing about being skeptical or resentful of someone else's success. We're like so quick to find a reason not to celebrate someone, or like, you know, the gut reaction is to be snarky or cynical. In more general terms, if you're a music fan who's a bit nerdy about it, there's also like a natural friction when wider audiences start getting into something and hailing it as completely new and innovative. You know, well, actually, in music there is no originality, and to be fair, that's kind of a fact. It's all kind of been done, but who cares? If it sounds new to this audience, great. And it doesn't mean that because you know an artist that's done something similar, that someone else can't do something brilliant in that same style or make it their own. It just matters whether the music is good. I think if you spend hours listening to music that 95% of people don't care about, when an artist who happens to make similar music actually taps into that 95% and draws people in, there's this weird kind of thing we do where it's like, it should be, welcome, how cool is this? But we somehow invert it and end up being like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, you kind of turn your nose up and treat the newcomers like they're tourists in your sacred temple. I think finally, the also thing is just being a bit reluctant to take a recommendation from the mainstream. I had the same thing with Wet Leg, for example. You know, 90% of the time when an artist makes it big, they've spent a number of years in obscurity where the kind of music nerd collective get to discover them first. But every once in a while it turns on its head and a group just appears. And there's this inbuilt fear, I think particularly among fans of rock, that if it's got the approval from the corporate machine before they get to pass it, that it's immediately not good. So in summary, jealousy, arrogance, elitism, gatekeeping, all wrapped up in a nice little package of narcissism. That's what my therapist tells me anyway. But no, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, just being honest, but I would bet that what I've just chatted about probably captures a little slice of the thought process from people that have seen The Last Dinner Party get this hype and then maybe have turned their nose up, or if it's not them, then maybe kind of other bands lucky enough to have the sort of light of the machine turn on them. The point of all this is to say that I actually think some of these feelings are natural. It kind of shows that you care about music, but it's good just to be aware of like the ridiculousness of it all and try to set it aside and judge something on its own merits. If new people want to start getting into art rock or post-punk because they heard Last Dinner Party on FIFA or on the radio on TV, that's fucking cool. None of this is to try and also be condescending either. Like, this album is only good because I've given it some sort of grace as an otherwise snobby music fan. This album's just great, full stop. While we're on the topic though, if you do love this album, here are a few artists that I think you should check out, like from way back when, maybe Roxy Music, David Bowie and Sparks, but from the last 10 to 15 years, maybe you want to check out Savages, Nadine Shah, Priests, US Girls and Kate Le Bon. Now, with the talk therapy out of the way, let's get to Prelude to Ecstasy. And what I think this album does really well, and this is something that struck me instantly, is how quickly each song gets into it. I mean, obviously the album starts with an instrumental, like a classical piece for this introduction, but that's pretty engaging and an effective tone setter. But once we get into the album proper, songs like Burn Alive really embrace that classic adage of don't bore us, get to the chorus. Like hitting us with the earworm, I'm not the girl I set out to be hook with what feels like it straight away. I think this straight to the point approach is actually key to the album's success as a whole, because while the instrumental palette feels regal and the production super sophisticated, the arrangements are unexpectedly simple and direct. And I counted, and I think 7 or 8 of the 12 tracks here get to their chorus or a hook within 30 to 40 seconds. And on top of that, when they do get to the choruses, they are not just strong but really dynamic and take a variety of forms. Burn Alive has this kind of new wave Kate Bush dramatic shuffle, while Caesar on the TV screen has this slick, clean guitar based groove, and Nothing Matters reflects that with a more angular, riffy approach. I mentioned before the sophisticated sounding production, and in some respects that is almost kind of expected with this kind of baroque pop. However, I specifically enjoy how James Ford's production of this album plays on the different dynamics of the band. And I don't want to harp on about the gender aspect of Last Dinner Party because I think it's often quite redundant and condescending, like, whoa, this female band actually rock, like, yeah, no shit. But what I've picked up on and enjoyed on Prelude to Ecstasy is a sort of harnessing of both feminine and masculine energy in the sound. And when I think of masculine or macho energy in rock music, I think of loud, bombastic, kind of boneheaded and direct, whereas feminine energy to me is when things are layered, intense, hypnotic, powerful and seductive. And both of those approaches are super positive things, although that macho energy can sometimes be overused. But you know, they're just styles of playing. It doesn't define the music itself. The same riff, for example, can be produced to have that masculine or that feminine sound. And the style is something as well that I consider divorced from gender. So like Depeche Mode, Queens of the Stone Age and Deftones are all examples of male bands that wield a lot of the feminine energy, for instance, while bands like Heart, The Distillers, Bikini Kill and Hole would all be good examples of female bands that utilise a kind of more of a masculine energy. Prelude to Ecstasy sees the band wield the masculine and the feminine. The first half has this layered, intense and subtle approach to the riffs and playing. Caesar on a TV screen, for instance, could easily have dialed up the distortion and on the guitars and injected the drum part with like big open hi-hats and crashes, but instead its riff and groove is restrained. It's kind of muted, kind of subtle, and as a result it's totally powerful and super seductive. Compare that to Nothing Matters or My Lady of Mercy on the second half of the album, for instance. These tracks have massive sounding guitars and drums. It's like boom, right there in your face. The songs explode with aggression and play into that more macho energy, and it creates a perfect balance against those other darker and more subtle pieces. The more I listen to this, the more I love it. The vocals are fantastic. The lyrics are interesting, which they're a great balance of being poetic without being frustratingly opaque. On some listens, I'm inclined to say that the inclusion of a very RAWK air guitar ready solo on Nothing Matters feels a bit out of place, but on the other hand, I also can't blame them because the track deserves a bit of indulgence. Overall, I have to say this is a fantastic debut. After being a dumb skeptic, see the therapy session at the start of this video, I've been completely bowled over by this album, and I would say it's about a 9 out of 10. Alright, that's it from me though. What did you think? I want to hear from you. Subscribe, share some thoughts, show some love, or wholesome abuse, you know. Do you like the music? Do you like how I talk about it? What are your thoughts? Let me know. There are some other videos down there that you might like. and I'll see you in the next video, mate. Cheers, bye.